Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Way to Wow. We have an incredible guest speaker today, Owen Beiny. And before I introduce Owen, want to just give a recap. Last week, we had an incredible guest, Kira, talking about everything crypto. We talked about metaverse. We talked about NFTs. We talked about all the things you need to know about should I, shouldn't I, how does it work? Why do I need to know about this? So if you missed last week's episode, go to our YouTube channel, Way to Wow. In fact, you'll see my partner, Brian Belansky, with that interview. And today I have the honor of having Owen Beiny on our show. I had the honor of meeting him 2 years ago. We met through LinkedIn.
That's right.
We became fast friends. And you also were able to help me personally with my credit card situation. I had no idea that by using my regular banking system, my ATM, for everything I was doing, that I was doing it all wrong. And I remember going, I'm really going to give this guy all my statements to look at. How embarrassing. I said, you know what, though? If you're going to a doctor, you're going to talk about your health and you're just going to do it, right? We get naked for our doctor, right? And I, being that I do financials, I'm in that world. And if I'm going to help someone, they've got to show it to me. So I said, I want to do it right. I want to earn points. I want to maximize this and do it wisely. I'm always tired of hearing everybody else do it. So needless to say, I was so glad I got a lot to learn, but more importantly, his personality. He's got the gift of gab. He's got a great personality. He's funny, he's fun. So get ready. We're going to have a great time today and we're going to learn a lot together. If you have a notebook and a pen, you definitely want to get that out because you'll probably want to take some notes. And of course, we'll give you his contact information so you can make a private time as well. So Beiny's, Owen's all the way in LA. And actually, you're closer to Kevin. I'm in Valencia right now. And so today we're going to learn about something called the points partner. So let's start with how is it that you came into this idea that you want to be everything credit card points?
Indeed. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening to you all, wherever you are around the world. For those that don't already know me, my name is Owen. I am known as the Points Partner. And what I do is I help individuals maximize their credit card benefits. And I help people get as many credit card points and air miles as is mathematically possible for their lifestyle. And then I teach people how to use said points efficiently. In other words, I put people on beds, on planes for free. That is what I do for a living. My website, thepointspartner.com, is the #1 independent website in America for credit card applications and, more importantly, approvals of those applications. I do a bunch of public speaking, media work. I have a regular spot on Good Morning America talking to the nation about this very topic. And I also have a bunch of online courses. The one that's making all the headlines at the moment is my Fly Free Academy, which is an online course that anyone can sit down and watch and learn how to do this stuff. So how did I end up here talking to you guys about credit profiles, credit scores, credit cards, points, transfer partners, beds on planes? Well, the story goes like this. I lived in London. As you can hear from my British accent, I was originally from England, but now live in the States and have done for many, many years. And my job was flying around the world every day of the week with photographers shooting celebrities. And I picked up this skill set of using air miles and credit cards in order to upgrade and get better benefits throughout my travel experience. And the more I got into it, this kind of necessity for sleeping on a plane became a hobby, and a hobby became an obsession, and an obsession has now become my business. So I fill that gap between credit card companies and airlines and all of you. I am, to a certain degree, the Tinder or the Bumble or the J-Swipe of putting together the people and the products in order that they can maximize them and truly get the most out of them. And I wanted to start by just giving a really brief overview of what I'm talking about. I'm sure there's people listening right now thinking, this guy does credit card points for a living? Where is there a living there? What's going on? So I'll simplify it. The average American gets back under 1% of whatever they spend on their credit card in some form of benefit. But if it's done correctly, that can be as much as 10%. And 10% saved is not the same as earning an extra 10%, because this is a tax-free benefit. So if you had to earn an extra 10%, you would actually have to earn nearer 13 or 14% in order to get the difference. There are three different benefits of credit cards. There is cashback, there is air miles, and there is credit card points. And they are not created equal. I'll say that again. They are not created equal. They are meant demographically for different people, and they are worth different amounts. Cashback is designed for low-income households. If your household brings in less than $45,000 a year, cashback, respectfully, is going to be your best option because you could do with some extra cash. Air miles are incredibly misleading. They are not designed for the average American. They are designed mathematically for business travelers and for those people that are doing the same routes week in, week out on the same airline to see a loved one. And credit card points are designed generically for everybody, the other 85, 90% of you. And the reason for that is they are a transferable currency. They can act as credit card points, they can act as air miles, and they can act as cashback as and when you see fit. And the value of these three benefits are all different as well. 1% cashback on a dollar that you spend is just 1 cent. 1 air mile for a dollar that you spend can be worth as little as 0.6 cents or as much as 1.5 cents, depending on the airline or the hotel group that you're getting it with. And 1 credit card point used badly is worth 1 cent, but used the way that I teach people can be as much as 7 cents. That is right. Credit card points used efficiently and effectively are worth 7 times the value of cashback.
Wow.
There's a brief introduction of who, what, why, and when.
Wow. I mean, my mind is racing as to like, how do I know which one to take part in? And when do I need to make a decision what I'm doing with my credit cards? You know, walk us through a typical client of yours. Okay. And how, I mean, you're welcome to use me if you remember my situation, but you know, there are other people I'm sure you've helped since then. It's been a long time. Walk me through a typical client from A to Z and how you guide them to do whichever is, you know, the smartest way for them.
Absolutely. So I kind of break it down into 2 different categories. Either you're somebody who spends $6,000 a month or less, or you spend more. If you spend less, you can just go ahead on my website, watch my online course, and there is hours of content there that will tell you what to do. If you're somebody who spends $6,000 a month or more, you're going to likely have business spend in there, and therefore there's a lot more detail to it, and I need to get involved. So what does that look like? Well, the first thing I'll say is send me your real credit score, and I'll explain why I said real there in a second, and send me your last month's credit card statements as a PDF download for me to look at. Now, real credit score. If you are looking at your credit score online for free at creditkarma.com, Credit Sesame, Credit Wise, Credit Journey, inside your bank or credit card company, that is not your real credit score. That is what's called a Vantage 3. That is not what any of the underwriters of any credit cards look at. What they look at is a FICO system. So the first thing I'll do is probably send you a link so that you can go to either my FICO or my Score IQ and download your real credit profile for me to look at. When you apply for a credit card, they don't look at your credit score. That is right. They don't look at your credit score. Your credit score is meant for us, for humans to walk around and talk to each other about how trustworthy we are to lend money to. When you apply for credit, they look at your credit profile, which is the detail behind that, okay? And I'll explain the difference between score and profile in an analogy. If you stand outside my house and you guess what type of furniture I've got in my living room, that's my credit score, okay? If a crate and barrel specialist comes into my house with a magnifying glass and tells you what my couch is made of, that is your credit profile. It is the detail behind your lending behaviors. Okay,
Interesting.
that's what they look at. So your score is irrelevant. You can have an 850 credit score and still get denied for a credit card if you don't understand your profile.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Never heard of this. This is really cool. I
Yeah.
hope you guys are all paying attention to this.
And if we have time, I'll dip into the 5 factors of credit and how that works and explain to you that the easy mistakes that a lot of people make. I am renowned for having highbrow clientele that come to me and say, I don't understand why my credit score is not perfect. I pay my bill on time every month, because your payment history only represents a third of your credit score. Okay, it's your utilization, which most people don't even understand, that is the important part. And we'll dabble into that a bit later on. So somebody sends me their credit card statements. What do? I print them all out and I sit here with a calculator and I break down their day-to-day spend into categories. And I'm specifically looking for these categories: food, drink, gas, marketing, travel, and office supplies. Those 6 places are opportunities where I can get them lots of points, multiples for every dollar that they spend, either 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 times the amount of points in those places. So once I've broken that down, I can then start to pair credit cards with their spend that is going to get them the maximum amount of benefit for it. Now, by the time I've done that, I've got 25 credit cards that they need. Obviously, that's not appropriate. So then I'll pair them down under one roof. So I'll bring them all under the American Express blanket, or under the Capital One blanket, or under the Citibank blanket, and try and make it work. Then I do what's called sequencing. Now, this is something that all of you don't need to know, but I do. Sequencing is the order of applications in order to not trigger any red flags with the banks, the credit card companies, or the institutions. I then have to pair that with meeting the sign-up bonuses. When you get a new credit card, you spend a certain amount, you get a big chunk of points. I need to make sure that their organic spend is going to be able to hit all those bonuses. And if they can't, I have to build a schedule for when they apply for it in order to truly mathematically maximize all of the above.
Wow.
Once I've done that, I then create a summary and I'll send it back to the client that says, when you came to me, you were getting, for example, 1.2% back in benefits of your spend. I can change that to, for example, 5.2%. And that equates to X amount of points per year. And those points per year equates to X amount of free traveling dollars. Okay. And assuming that you want to execute on the plan that I've laid out for you, book an hour-and-a-half Zoom call with me, and we are going to take you through those motions. And those motions are broken down into 3 stages. The first section is incoming points, which is all about your credit profiles, your credit scores, credit cards, going over your existing wallet. How do I get rid of this credit card that's of no use to me? How do I bring in the new one? Where do I go to get it? What buttons do I click? How do I link it? What if it's personal spend, business spend? I don't want to mix the 2 up for my taxes. All of that stuff, incoming points, how you gain these points. The second section is outgoing points. What to do with all these yummy points once you've got them. And this is the real juice. This is the magic sauce. Because if you don't understand how to use these points, you are throwing them away. Okay? And we'll come back to that in just a second. And the last section I do is what I call home efficiency and optimization. And what that is a very fancy way of saying, here's a bunch of other stuff I can help you with, having looked at your credit card statement. Here are other loyalty schemes, apps for your phone, websites to join that will bring you benefit, either money, points, air miles, that have nothing to do with your credit card spend, right? So that's the structure of the sessions that I do. And I want to try and kind of focus in here on that second section, the outgoing side. Anyone can go to my website and mess around with credit cards and get a better credit card for them than they've got now, right? Will it be mathematically optimized the way that I do it? Probably not, but it's good enough. But it's the outgoing side where you're going to really struggle to do that without either watching my course or seeing me privately. I've got 25 years of experience of studying this stuff. And you can see all the gray hair that it's got me. That's a lot of information that I had to consolidate over the years. So I want to give an example of what the difference makes, right? Excuse my British accent, but I'm American. I live here in Los Angeles. Let's pretend that I want to take a trip. Let's say I want to go to Paris for the weekend, okay? And I want to go business class on a 6-foot lay flat bed. If I want to buy that ticket, it's going to cost me about $7,000. If I do it as a pay with points, when you use your points within the travel section of any credit card company, they are going to charge me 100 times the cost of said travel, but in points. So that $7,000 will become 700,000 points. The third way of doing it is you can transfer your points out of the credit card company and into a frequent flyer program of any of the airlines or hotel groups. And in the best case scenario, that same flight, that same bed on that same plane, same company would cost me 100,000 points. Wow. So the difference there is sevenfold. And that's making the assumption that there isn't a bonus on. Right now, there's a bonus from American Express into British Airways for 40%. So that 100,000 would now be 60,000. So you can see by learning the skill set of how to connect these things, move them at the right time, and understand what it is that you're looking for, right, you can dramatically increase the value of your benefits. Now, on the incoming side, where you gain points, if you can get the right credit cards, you could be getting 3, 4, 5 times the amount of points. I just gave you an example on the outgoing side, where we're going to get 7 times points. Put those two together, you're now getting 10 to 12 times the amount of free travel that you're getting now. And that is probably the easiest way to explain who I am and what I do.
Wow. Well, I am just like swimming with thoughts right now because I haven't used my points for anything yet. Now I did connect. So I guess a good case to kind of share this with everyone. When I met with Owen, he went through my things, all my personal spending and my business spending. And he said, you're anyway having to buy all this stuff. Why don't you put it on the credit card? And here was my number one reason why I didn't want to use a credit card. I was years ago in debt. I had a lot of credit card debt 10 years ago. And my number one fear is like, I never want to be in that situation again. So I never used credit cards. Well, now that I was learning, it can actually benefit you as long as you're paying it down every month. You're anyway spending it. Why not spend it there, right? I was one of those more than $6,000 a month, but coming out of my bank account. For what reason? There was zero benefit for doing it the way I was doing it. So I have all these points now sitting with American Express. I connected it, when Owen talked about you're just going to partner up with all these airlines. I did all the due diligence, right? I now have everything connected, but I've never made the transfer. And I'm thinking, well, does that mean I need to be this traveler? What if I'm not the traveler? What if I don't have a plan to go somewhere? Right. So what happens to all these points, or should I just book a trip so I don't lose them? Right. So what happens?
Okay, great questions. So the first thing is you're not going to lose them. Credit card points, as long as you have an account with that credit card company, do not expire. It is air miles that expire, right? So you there's no rush to use these points. Bank them. It's as good as your 401k, right?
Which is not good, by the way, but that's for another podcast.
Bad example though. It's as good as your crypto account, right? So that you have no fear of using them. Okay, so what's the best use of these points? The reason that you always hear people talk about credit cards, credit, and travel is because travel is the best use of your points. Right, you can get up to 7-8 cents out of each point if you use it for international business class travel. After that, using it for domestic or coach travel, you can still get 3-4 cents out of each point. Hotels, 2 to 4 at best, and then cash back or money off your bill, 1. So when you start to understand what you can use your points for and the values you can derive for them, it really pushes you in a direction of travel every single time. Now, I do know people that own large businesses that have millions of points. They're never going to use that for travel because they have so many. So they take cash back, or they buy gift cards, or they connect it to their Amazon account and spend that way, or use it in Rite Aid or Walgreens, CVS. There's 1,000. You can use your points for anything you want. There is a way to do it. The real question is, what value are you getting for it when you do so? And I wanted to backtrack to something else you said a couple of minutes ago about the fear of using credit cards, right? You had some credit card debt a few years ago. So the first thing I would say is, unless you have the intention of paying off your credit card bill in full every single month, please do not go to my website. Do not buy my course. Do not book me for a session. Do not phone me. Do not collect. Do not pass go.
Do not collect $200.
Right. This is a game for financially responsible, financially literate adults only. If you do not pay your bill in full every month, please don't get a credit card. Okay, stick with your debit card.
Thank you, Owen. Very important and well said.
Yeah. But for those people that are financially responsible and can pay it off on time in full, there is a whole world of benefits out there. And I want to pause for a second on travel, because that's the big one. But there's one other one that doesn't get discussed enough, which is purchase protection. When Leah is spending money in the Apple store on her debit card, and she walks out of the store and drops the laptop on the floor, she needs to go back in and buy that laptop again. If you put it on a credit card, you have purchase protection. You make a phone call, they put the money back on your card, and you go get another laptop. So there's tremendous benefits outside of just points and air miles and cashback. There is purchase protection, insurances, status, right? Sometimes the benefits of credit cards are intangible. They are things that money can't buy, right? And that's where it starts to get interesting. You always hear about these big gamblers in Vegas that have the MGM jet that fly them out to go to Vegas. Money can't buy you the MGM jet, right? It's status that gets you that. And you're a part of, when you have a credit card, you're a part of essentially a corporate private members club, okay? And there are advantages and there are access to people and places that money can't buy you. And that's a huge part of this. And the best example is the travel, because yes, you may be able to save $7,000 on a business class ticket. We weren't going to pay $7,000 to begin with. Who's paying that? It's not Leah and it's not me, right? We would go in coach. We wouldn't spend $7,000. But having these points, being able to transfer them, gives us access to something that we would never get access to. Right, and that's the intangible benefit of this stuff. You will get to do things that money can't buy you, or if you had the money, you wouldn't pay for it. And that is, like, for me, the shiny garnish or the very nice, Asian soy marinade of this whole game.
I love that. And I know Kevin and I were talking, and I know he has something that he'd love to ask you. I'm going to ask Kevin, would you like to ask your question?
I would. I think it ties into what you were just talking about, Owen. So as an active duty member of the military, I found out when I was on my last overseas posting to Germany that I could get an American Express Platinum card and they will waive the annual fee, because under the Service Members something or other act, they interpret that as not being able to charge that. So I'm wondering if that works into your calculations, and if does that apply to other credit card companies as well, or what can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. You're poking at a very small area of this world, but you're absolutely correct. Active service members do not have to pay annual fees, not just with American Express, but all major credit card companies, banks, and institutions. Now, there are some unique rules surrounding it. So, for example, it doesn't apply for business credit cards, only for personal credit cards. And you have to understand that just because it's free doesn't mean you should get it, right? So it still needs to be a part of a sequence where you can meet the sign-up bonus and that it's bringing you day-to-day value, right? And also, don't forget, some of these credit card companies are giving you a hard pull inquiry every time you apply for a credit card. Now, in the case of American Express, that's not the case. American Express is the only one that once you've had a true American Express card, and I'll explain what that means. For 1 month, one billing cycle, there will be no more hard pull inquiries with American Express. So as I like to say, you're free to roam around the cabin with American Express, because if you're active military and you've already got an Amex card, you can go get all the Amex cards you want and go crazy, have some fun. So there are slight differences as you move around. I said real Amex card. Let me explain what that means. If you have an Amex card that is co-branded, so it's perhaps with Navy Federal, Macy's, Hilton, Marriott, Bonvoy, Delta, so on and so forth. That is not a true Amex card. That is a Hilton card that is backed by American Express, and therefore those rules might not necessarily apply to you. And the easiest way to understand this is if you can log in on americanexpress.com, you have a straight Amex card. If you can't, you have a co-branded card, and that rule about hard pull, soft pull does not apply. But as far as active military is concerned, you're absolutely correct. It does not apply to veterans, active military only.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm thinking about, talking about getting your Visa. A lot of your ATM cards are going to have a Visa or a MasterCard on them, but it's really the bank, like Bank of America, that's issuing it. You can't really log into Visa and see your Bank of America account there.
Mm-hmm. Here's a couple of fun ones as you brought up Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. So first of all American Express cards start with a 3, all Visa cards start with a 4, and all MasterCards start with a 5. That's always a fun one that people like. The second thing you need to know is Visa is the most generic, right? So you can go anywhere in the world with a Visa card and they will accept it. MasterCard closely follows behind them. Amex is the most challenging of all of them. It's great here in America, but once you leave America, it's very challenging to use it. And I want to explain to you why that's a good thing, right? You're thinking, why is that a good thing? I can't use my credit card. The reason that it's not used everywhere is because they charge the merchant more, which they then pass that on to you in points, right? So for example, the American Express Rose Gold card gives you 4 times points on all of your food and drink. No one else is offering you that, but that's because they're charging the merchant more and then hooking us up. It's corporate mafia. We're a part of their cool mafia, so we get hooked up. And right. That's kind of the easiest way to understand it. So although ironically, the benefit of having American Express points is for your free travel, and then when you travel, you can't use it as much. So you'll want to have a no foreign transaction fee Visa in your wallet as well for when you actually go traveling.
Wow, so important to know. And I remember asking you the same question regarding American Express, but even here in the US, that a lot of people will say, we don't take American Express. And I'm thinking to myself, you do, you just don't want to because it's too expensive for you. Mm-hmm. And no matter how many times I say, this is the only card I have, they will not take it. So, I had understanding how to have my backup card, speaking of the backup card, I tend to use that for all my Amazon purchases. And is there an airline that also can be linked to, or is that strictly the American Express?
So you have the Amazon Prime Visa Signature Reward Card in gray. Okay, it is the worst named credit card in the history of credit cards.
The worst, what you said?
Amazon, worst named credit card in history. Amazon Prime Visa Signature Reward Card in gray. No, that is you only get Amazon Reward dollars,
which is amazing in itself, FYI. Because
it is. Listen, 5% back on your Amazon spend is really good for cashback.
Yes.
But a single credit card point used correctly is worth 7%. Remember, right? And there are cards that you can get 2, and there are cards that you can get 3 credit card points on Amazon with. So even now, to use that card on Amazon, there is an argument that it's not mathematically efficient. Now, the other place that card gets you 5% is in Whole Foods, because Amazon owns Whole Foods.
That's right.
Do not ever use that card in Whole Foods, because there is other credit cards that gives you 4 times points in Whole Foods, because it's a supermarket. So listen, I don't want to overwhelm anyone. That's what I do.
How do you remember all this, Owen?
It's my job. I get up. I say I get up in the morning. I don't get up in the morning. I'm already up researching the latest and greatest benefits for all of you, so that you don't have to stress with it, right?
True. But here's my thought. Things are always changing. So it feels like when I met with you, these were the best. And then since then, there's more and more and more. It can be like, wait, at what point do I have to stop applying for credit cards? And when do I take these ones out of my wallet to only use these? And these are already in my auto pay, and these are already in my computer.
I love the question, right?
Okay.
Nobody wants to be like me. You don't want to spend all day long dealing with this stuff. You want to get in, watch my course, or talk to me for a couple of hours, get out and get to travel for free, right? So the short answer is, listen, if you want to be mathematically efficient, then yes, every 3-4 months, you should look at what's going on, but you don't need to do that. The important part is that right now here today, that you can change your credit cards to the ones that are going to get you the most. And more importantly than that, learn how to use your points. I'll say that again. Learn how to use your points, because if you use it in their system, you're throwing it away. So either watch my online course or contact me privately and I'll teach you. Once you know that skill set, you've taken care of 70% of what's important. That won't change. That 70%, Leah, you've got that now. You know what you're doing, and that works forever, right?
Yeah, and I feel really good about that, because the truth is I hardly use my banking except for things that don't take credit cards.
Perfect. Listen,
yeah.
there is some good uses of debit cards, right? And I'll give you, there's one obvious one. And people always say like, oh, you must never use your debit card. I do. I have one debit card and I do use it. And I'll tell you how I use it. If I stay in a hotel and I go down to the bar and I have a couple of drinks and I get drunk and I go upstairs to my room and I forgot my room key at the bar, you can use a debit card to jimmy the side of the door to open the door. That is the only use of a debit card that I can think of.
That's the only card that works.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to listen to this amazing thing.
Yeah, you can't do it with an Amex card. They're too thick because they're metal now. Yeah,
they are. By the way, they're heavy too.
Yeah.
I know Kevin has another question.
Sure, go ahead.
So Owen, what about these? I think they're actually called charge cards, things like Diners Club, and I mean, I think I'm the oldest guy here right now. And when I was a kid, everybody wanted to have Diners Club. It seemed like it was the thing to have, right? Do those have any place in our finances now? What do you think about those?
Yeah, so there's two separate things here. One is Diners Club, and the short answer is no. It's defunct. It's old. It's like saying Elvis has left the building, and now we've got Justin Bieber and Beyonce. So now very much it's the big blue bank, American Express, Citibank, and Capital One. Like that's it. And the reason that those four are the most important ones, they're the ones that allow you to transfer the points out and create that extra value. All the rest of them, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all the rest of them don't allow you to do that. And therefore the value is capped at 1%, and it's mathematically wildly inefficient. The other thing that you said there, which I love that you mentioned this, is charge card. I get this all the time. What's the difference between a charge card and a credit card? Okay, really, really important stuff here. A credit card is you get a specific limit, an amount of available credit that you can spend each month. And it is designed that if you need to, you can carry a balance and pay a relatively low interest for doing so. It's always a bad idea to do that, but in relative terms, that's what they're designed for. A charge card is the opposite. There is no limit. That does not mean you can go and buy houses and cars. It means they don't tell you the limit. It changes dynamically at midnight every night. But you can check your spending power online to see if you need to buy something large. And it is designed to be paid off in full every month. And assuming that you do that, you are rewarded with more points, more air miles, and more cash back for doing so, okay? If you do not do that, you get punished horrifically with the worst interest you've ever seen in your life.
Tell me how bad, because I've had 29%. What are you talking about?
Okay, so you see what my face looks like now, and I pay all my bills on time. I'm going to show you what my face would look like if I didn't pay my charge cards on time. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Oh my God, Owen, you crack me up. until I got into the industry that I'm in now, I had no clue what I was doing wrong. And I thought the credit card companies love me. They trust me. Well, of course they did, because here's what I was doing. I was paying the minimum every month, but I had this massive balance with a massive interest rate. And I was like, I'm fine. I pay my bill on time. And until I realized, how to get out of that crazy cycle.
Listen, once you go down that road, it's a horrible path. I want to explain how credit card companies make money, because I think that there's a huge misconception here. People always assume that they want you to not pay your bill on time and you pay interest. They actually make a relatively small amount of money from interest, because there are other people that just don't pay at all, and that kind of counteracts it. Where they make their money is charging the merchant for every dollar that you swipe with them, right? And we'll use American Express as the example. If I go into Rite Aid and I buy some beauty products for Leah, not that she needs them, and I swipe my credit card, American Express is going to charge her approximately, charge Rite Aid approximately 3%. Okay, that's where they make their money. So that's why you see these sign-up bonuses. They want to get you to spend lots of money, not borrow and not pay back or pay interest. They want you to pay it on time, then they can just keep going and make money. When you screw up that path and you don't pay on time, they now don't have the money to lend to someone else, right? If they're not giving it to you, they're giving it to someone else to go use. Right. And that's how the process works. So people always assume like these big banks are evil and they're predatory and da-da-da. That's not the case. It's that people aren't educated or responsible or financially literate to know how to use these products. And that's really where I step in, is that we weren't taught this in school. How did we all grow up and I was taught Latin and French, but nobody taught me about credit. How does every person in America not understand the difference between their credit profile, their credit score, or the 5 factors that make up your credit, and what that means and what it looks like to borrow money? And is that a good idea or a bad idea? Do you follow Dave Ramsey and you should never have any debt whatsoever? Or do you follow the points partner and put everything on credit cards? Where is the financial literacy explaining to people the difference, the pros, the cons, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it? If there's any like one thing that I would wish for, is for the government to step in and teach in schools taxes and credit. Like, where's the education? Why is it that people need to go? Sorry, I'm going off on a rant now.
No, this is perfect. You don't even know how perfect this is. Keep going, because I have a lot to add. Okay, it's Financial Literacy Month, and I am not going to shut up until the 31st. I specialize. My business is very much credit cards, points, traveling for free. But I actually have a course coming out in about 3 or 4 months from now. It's in editing, about all types of financial literacy, right? It is not just a case of credit and credit card points. It's a case of taxes. It's a case of 401ks, cryptocurrencies, insurance policies. That you need to understand all of these things to better your life. And I want to just quickly run through what the chronological order of the perfect student of mine does. Okay, it starts with understanding financial literacy, understanding your credit score, your credit profile, and then restoring it back to a good shape, right? 700 and above, as most people would say. At that point, we then get you the right personal credit cards, ones that are going to serve you on a day-to-day basis, give you lots of points for your life and lots of yummy points, cashback, air miles. Then you get non-bonus category spend cards. So remember those 6 places: food, drink, gas, everything else that isn't those, right? So bills, doctors, lawyers, dentists, clothing, everything else. We're going to get you credit cards just for those. They're called non-bonus category spend cards. Then we get premium credit cards. Those are the flashy ones that come with free global entry, pre-check, lounges at airports, upgraded statuses, concierges on the phone, all that stuff. Then you move to business credit. Now, for anyone who's listening, you do not need a business to have business credit cards. I'll say that again. You do not need to own a business. You do not need to have an LLC, S Corp, or C Corp to get business credit cards. Most of them you can apply for as a sole proprietor, just as you.
With American Express, you will need a tax EIN number, but you do not need to open a business to get that. You can go to irs.gov, and in 3 minutes, you can open up for free an EIN number and then get business credit cards. Now, why am I talking about business credit cards? Business credit cards do not report your utilization back to the credit bureaus.
Wow.
So that means that you are protecting your personal credit by using business credit cards. Okay, it is absolutely imperative that people understand that. So you build your credit up, you move across the business credit, you're protected for life. You'll get the best rates on mortgages, HELOCs, auto loans, whatever it is you want to do with your life. And you're going to have tons of available credit. And for every new entity, every new tax EIN number that you can get the same credit cards again and get even more points, even more cash back, even more air miles, and even more available credit that you can invest into your business and leverage that credit. Okay.
Leverage, very important word.
So exactly, leverage. Let's talk about it. What does leverage mean? It means you're going to borrow money and do something smart with it and make money. Now, before you say, but it's credit cards, high interest, all of these business credit cards give you 12 months interest free. That means if you're smart and you've built up your personal credit, you've moved across the business credit, you're going to get massive credit lines. We're talking $20, $30, $40, $50,000 that you don't have to pay back for a year. You can take that $50,000 and invest in your dreams and your future. I don't care whether you want to rent houses on Airbnb, you want to buy and sell cars, you want to do trucking. It makes no difference what business you do it in, but you can invest. Pretend you bought a new place, you want to turn it around and you want to rent it out, but it needs a new HVAC system that's 30 grand. Boom, we can put that in this week, rent it out, pay the money back before the end of the year. Another great tip. You're getting me fired up now.
No, I love that you're so excited. Okay. Yes.
So huge tip. I'm going to drop a mad gem for all of you right now.
Mad gem, here it comes.
You can move your available credit on your personal credit card across to a business credit card in one phone call. So if you follow the path that I just gave you, by the time you get to business credit cards, you're going to have $200,000-$300,000 of available credit, and you can move it all across to one credit card that doesn't report your utilization and invest in your future and your life, get passive income, and then use those points and go fly around the world on a bed, on a plane, laughing about it. If I had a mic, I would drop it. I don't, so I'm just going to do this.
Mic drop right here.
Yeah.
And, this is so valuable. And I know it takes time to think, okay, so how much time do I need to dedicate to make all this happen? Every time is important, right?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You do not need to dedicate your life to this, to live that life. It starts with getting your personal credit in good shape. If you're above 700, you're already in good shape. If you're between 600 and 700, contact me. There's options on my website for a 10-minute call. Talk to me for 10 minutes. I'll tell you what you need to do by yourself that won't cost you any money to get your score from 600 to 700. If you're below 600, you need a credit restorationist, a credit specialist. I can put you in touch with one. I know how to do it, but that's not what I want to spend my days doing, right? Yeah. So starts by getting your credit in good shape. Then you can, if you're somebody who spends up to $5,000 a month, go on my website, watch my course, right? And by this time tomorrow night, you'll be nodding your head with everything I'm saying right now because you'll understand it all, okay? If you're somebody who has a lot of business spend, you're spending more than $6,000 a month, you're spending 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month, come see me privately and I'll work it out for you. It's going to be a hot mess trying to do that math on your own. And get the right credit cards. And that's it, right? And then by the end of, within 6 months, you've got enough points, you're flying for free. And then later on, you can come back and we can do business credit and we can do other things that you want to push yourself forward for. But the fundamental starting point is make sure you've got a good credit score and learn from me how to use your points. Those are the two kind of key pillars.
Amazing. I mean, I have a couple of questions here. Just the credit score is important because you're basically going to be asking new institutions to lend you credit line, and you need that in pristine shape. And I'm speaking from someone who did not always have good credit score. And I remember getting my first car, and I needed they called it a tier 4 car loan. And I was like, what's tier 4? Basically, ma'am, you're paying a lot more money than someone else who would come in with good credit, right? So I built my way up, and now my credit score is in the high 8s. and it took time, but understanding maximization, utilization, you want to be using a card, not just having the card, because you could have multiple cards, you're not using them. In fact, one thing you taught me, Owen, don't close any credit cards, because that affects your credit negatively. If you just go ahead and close a card because you're not using it, you want to just keep it open, even if you're not using it. That was a tip I remember you taught me. And that goes for lines of credit too. Let's say my husband, he loves guitars and he has a collection of all types. He stopped using his Guitar Center card and he just closed it. He didn't realize. And then I'm like, wait, you did what? He's like, oh no, I didn't realize. And yeah, it affected him. So when we bought our house recently, we closed and he was like, I wonder why. I'm like, he said it was the Guitar Center. I closed the card. It's not a big deal, but these are little things.
Right. So there's probably people listening to this thinking, wow, this is interesting. There's a lot here. My first starting point is don't be overwhelmed, right? Go follow me on TikTok or Instagram at The Points Partner everywhere, and start listening to me in the background when you flick through your friends, right? And you'll catch a few of these gems, right? Leah just dropped a huge one, right? Which is don't ever close a credit card. Okay, when you close a credit card, it's going to ding your credit pretty badly. If you'll have an annual fee on that credit card, you can downgrade that card to one with no annual fee. So it's not costing you anything. And then later on, when you get a new credit card that you do want, you can move that available balance or available credit across, which will be of use to you, right? So these are just all little gems to make up what is going to be a beautiful necklace for you one day.
Nice.
And you don't need to do it all at once, right? You don't need to right now go across to my website, watch my course, book a call with me. Like, take it slow. Come and hang out with me. I do a lot of public speaking. Follow me around. I do a lot of Clubhouse rooms for those of you who are on Clubhouse. You can, every day, I religiously every day put a reel on Instagram with tips. So, start to marinate your life with some of this information, and slowly it starts to connect. I do want to cover one other thing that we let slip before. I was going to talk about utilization, right? So when we talk about your credit, the big one is your payment history, obviously pay your bills on time, but closely followed is your credit utilization. And most people don't understand what that means. What that is the percentage of your available credit on your credit card that you use each month, regardless of whether you paid it on time or not. So if you have a credit card that has $1,000 limit and you spend $500 a month, you are at 50% utilization. And the credit agencies really want to see you use less than 30%. And if you can, under 10%. So if you're somebody who only has personal credit cards because you never bothered to get business credit cards, and you spend a lot of money every month, but you pay it off on time, I guarantee you now your credit score is between 710 and 742. You'll never get above that because your utilization is shot, right? So you need to get business credit cards or you need to get credit limit increases, more likely business credit cards that don't report that utilization, regardless of whether you're spending that money for business or personal. And another massive misconception is you do not need to use personal credit cards for your personal life. You can use them for business, and the same the other way around. And when it comes tax time, I have some great tips inside my course on ways that you can separate it. For example, you can get additional cards, authorized user cards, which are totally free, and you can use one for personal, one for business.
That's what you taught me to do, and we do it all the time now.
You're one of my clients. That's why
I love it, because came time to file my taxes for the past 2 years. Oh, it was a breeze because I just showed my CPA my business stuff, my personal stuff. I knew that's not going to be the tax deduction stuff. And it was just in one place as opposed to going through my bank statements with highlighters and, oh, thank you. You really helped me.
Just before we get back to your next question, we've gone off on a tangent here on credit, right?
Because that's not what we met about.
Exactly. So I just want to tell you one quick thing travel-wise that happened for me this week. I just booked a trip for myself, curiously enough, to Bogota in Colombia. And on the way home, I've managed to find myself a bed on a plane from Bogota back to Los Angeles in business class, 6-foot lay flat bed, caviar, champagne, lounge access, the whole 9 yards. And it cost me 24,000 miles. Now, that's about a $3,000 flight, right?
You used miles. You mentioned miles, not points.
Well, I moved the points to become miles.
Okay.
Right. So we talked, remember the pyramid? Remember
Yes.
the pyramid? No one else here knows that. They're going to have to.
I know the pyramid. I have it drawn out in my notebook too.
Right, good. Okay. So I use the pyramid and move my points from the credit card companies into an airline to create more value. So I booked that for 24,000 air miles. Now, just to give you an idea, if you go on my website and get any credit card, the sign-up bonus on average is at least 60,000 points. So you'd be able to get almost 3 of those. That's almost, in the way that I used it, that's almost $9,000 worth of free travel. For some of those credit cards are free. They don't even have annual fees. So understanding this stuff, you can really squeeze all the value out of it if you know what you're doing. Sorry, continue with
your, we have some other questions from the audience, but I just am curious because I don't know if you have trained other people to do what you do and they work with you or for you, or are you doing this on your own? How do you have time to help so many people?
Yeah, so the scalability aspect of what I do is the vast majority of people take my online course. It's the best, at the risk of sounding salesy, it's the best and cheapest online course out there. This will change your life. And with a, there's a discount, I'll give a discount code for everyone, which is FLY, F-L-Y.
Sounds easy to remember.
It's $299. There's a money back guarantee. You don't like it, you don't like my British mug, click a button, you can have your money back, no problem. It's currently 86 videos and counting. Now, I know that sounds overwhelming. They're short videos so that you can find what you're looking for when you're doing it. So if you want to say, how do I connect my airlines to my credit cards? You can go straight to that, and it's a 2-minute video. There's about 5-6 hours of solid content there. Some people get through it and binge watch it over a weekend. Other people take a couple of weeks to get through it. I guarantee you this much, 2 things. 1, there is a money back guarantee. So if you don't like it, you can have your money back. I guarantee you a second thing, which is it will change your life. That much I guarantee you, but you got to watch it, right? So the majority of people just watch my online course now, and I do, meeting people, Zoom calls, TV work. I'm flying to New York a lot for Good Morning America, podcasts and all that type of stuff. And then the high-end clients, for those people that spend a lot of money on their business, in particular, people that are buying merchandise, or for people that are spending on marketing of their business, I, in an hour and a half, will get them hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of free travel for the rest of their life. So I charge a lot of money for that. If you just go on my website, I'll charge you $1,500 for a session with me. But for those people that I once I see their statements, I end up telling them it's going to cost them 5, 10, 15 grand to see me. So for the average American, that's not affordable. So I created the course, which is, and that's kind of how my time is split. I'd say 3/4 of my time is spent doing outreach and marketing and educating. And then a quarter of my time is actually seeing high-end clients.
Amazing.
But I'm also available to everyone inside the course. So within the course, you can actually ask questions under each video, and I normally get back to you within a couple of hours with a short form answer.
Wow. And Owen, we're so much aligned with the financial literacy piece. The reason I'm in this industry is because it's so broken. Only 21 states in the United States require a financial course before you graduate high school. You have college students, and the first thing that they see when they hit campus for the first time are tables with little, umbrellas on top offering what? Credit cards. Yep. And these are 18-year-old kids going into debt. They think, oh, I have money. No, you have a line of credit that it's not your 40,000 or 20,000 or 2,000, right? And it's a disaster what's going on in America. They don't teach you how to, apply for a home loan. They're not teaching you anything that's valuable. That's like what you're teaching people. I really think we need to talk about doing some classes together to teach about compound interest versus simple interest, talking about the value of a credit score, the value of understanding what happens when you put your money in the bank, how do banks make money. There's so much here that we have in connection. Absolutely. You didn't even realize how passionate you are about the financial piece, the literacy piece. And that's really what I like to share with people. I know our time is limited. Kevin had a question and we're going to do a wrap up.
Sure.
Just real quickly, when you were talking about credit utilization, how does that work for an American Express card where there's no stated credit limit, right? So
yeah.
how do they calculate that?
The short answer is they still report whether they still report a percentage of what they gave you. You just don't know what that is.
Almost worse.
As a general rule of thumb, when it comes to utilization, is you don't want to bang the hell out of your personal cards. That's all you need to know. If you're somebody who's still building your credit, getting under that 10% is going to be really important. If you're between kind of 600 and 700, once you're at 700, you can spend whatever you want on your personal credit cards. But if you're a high spender, it's going to restrict your credit score and your profile. And that's the perfect time to move into business credit.
Wow. I definitely want to learn more about that profile you mentioned, but for the sake of time, I want to thank everyone for coming and watching this, rewatching this, sending this to your friends and loved ones. And thank you, Owen, for your time. This is so valuable. We're all living in a time in which we need to make things easy, quick, fast, right? We're in that generation, the microwave generation, right? Everything now. And so instant gratification. So we're all using credit cards. In fact, on my watch, I can literally do everything because, Apple Pay is now on the watch, on the phone. So what cards are you carrying around with you? Get in front of Owen. You're going to thank me. You're going to thank him. And I want to thank you all. Stay tuned because next week we're taking a little hiatus, but the week after on the 21st, you get to sit with me and a very close friend of mine that I've known probably since we're both 10 years old. And she is someone who changed my life on many levels. And you're going to get to sit in and hear from her. Her name is Chava Tomboski. And I'm excited to share our story. Her story mainly is really, really impactful. Have a phenomenal rest of your Thursday. Take care.